Teachers of Reddit, what was the best excuse for being late that turned out to be true? I had a student whose father had died, and had not done any homework or prep for the geography class. From what I heard, the teacher scolded him for not doing so, but the student didn't want to say anything, presumably sensitive issue, so his best friend shouted at the teacher, "Don't you have any shame? His father died last night." And the teacher said, "I don't care." There was an audible gasp and I was in the next room. Needless to say, that teacher is no longer employed here. Student here, I headed into school early to get some studying done in the library before my night class. I was one exit away when I was caught in a 3-car accident. Most of the expressway afterwards was gridlock with only one lane left open. I did eventually make it into my lab class 15 minutes late, with a few scrapes and bruises. My professor's reaction was simply, "Oh, that was you. Was he the one who hit you?" When I was student teaching, I was late because there was bunch of chickens in the middle of the road. They wouldn't move at all. This is in the middle of a city of 200,000 people. Ducking chickens. I finally get to school and profusely apologize to my mentor teacher, and I told her why I was late, thinking it sounded ridiculous. She said, "Yeah, those chickens are f***ing quack. They surrounded my car in the McDonald's parking lot last year. Don't worry about it. They were protesting on the McChicken sandwich." I had a 6-year-old turn up late to her lesson and blurt out, "Sorry I was late, I had to coloring a bunny." Seems fair. Can't blame her, coloring the bunny is an important job after all. Sounds like she has her priorities in order. One does not simply leave a bunny uncollared. I was the student. My neighbor had a really social goat, and she figured out how to escape her pen in order to come over and hang out. She escaped and followed me to the bus stop, and when the bus came, she tried to follow me onto it. I couldn't actually get on the bus without her being right behind me, so I had to get off, bring her home, and call my dad to bring me to school. My neighbor had a really social goat is the best thing I've read today, thank you, LOL. Some might call it an escape goat. We had an exam in my class and the teacher got a message from a student, saying that he was going to be late, because his car had a flat tire. The student was known to party. The teacher didn't think it could be true, so as a joke the teacher asked him to bring the tire back. He brought the flat tire back in the middle of the exam. Needless to say, the professor didn't expect that. That student had been partying. Drives to school, takes off tire, punctures it, and bobs your Aunt Mary. Flock of wild turkeys in the road. Not always in school, but this happened more than once in my life. For those of you who have never found yourselves in this situation, there is no way out of it. Wild turkeys will move when they damn well decide to do so, and only then. Never been in the situation. But I've met some wild turkeys. They truly don't care. Yeah, you can even nudge them with your car, and they will just look at you with that quack you look in their eyes and still not move. Canada geese do that too. I am a teacher, but this happened when I was a student. Does it count? In high school a kid came late to history class. He was a joker, so when someone asked him where he had been, he goes, "I was kidnapped." Everyone laughed, until he goes, "No really." Turns out 2 guys kidnapped him, and tossed him into the back of the minivan he was using for his morning paper route. They drove him around while they robbed something. I can't remember what happens after. I think they just drove the van somewhere and got away. He showed up after that. When I was in college, my psych professor told us that the only excuse for being late was a funeral procession. Any other reason, you wouldn't be allowed to come in. A few weeks into the semester, I was headed from one building to another, which involved crossing the main road. Lo and behold, there was one very long funeral procession going by. I got a short video of it as proof, then stood on the sidewalk to let it go by. Unfortunately, the procession made me 5 minutes late to class. I knocked on the door, and the professor came over to start to tell me off. I showed her the video. Well, I'll be damned, come on in. Not me, but in my class. This was in college. Student turned in work late after not showing up for 2 classes. 2 classes amounted to a full week, so it was noticeable. Professor looked at him and said, I hope somebody died for you to be this late. Does my dad count? Honestly, I've always heard, you can hear a pin drop and never really thought anything of it, but yeah, you could hear a quacking pin cut through the air after that. A way too friendly taxi driver asked me and my sister why we were so quiet. Did anyone die? Hee. Yes, we're just on the way back from our dad's funeral. He didn't say a word for the rest of the drive. Not school, but I got robbed at gunpoint, and my car stolen the previous night, and was talking to cops or detectives, until the early hours of the morning. But being the dedicated corporate slave, I showed up to work the next day, albeit an hour or so late. Even in public accounting they understood and even said, you know, this is clearly an appropriate reason to not come into work, right? Looking back, I probably should have taken that day off. If anything, this made my coworkers think I'm some crazy person, or just brushing the whole incident off as no big deal, and coming into work. Your brain was probably running on fumes at that point. I can understand not thinking it through and showing up at work. It's the trauma. I got hit by a car on my way to work, and I remember telling some nice lady that pulled over to help that I couldn't get in the ambulance, because I was going to be late for work. She made me call work. My boss insisted I go to the hospital. A guy in my college class missed class one day. The next day he came in with his eye covered up and medical paperwork in hand. Apparently he got pecked in the eye by a chicken. What is it with quacking chickens today?
So, what is your excuse for being late to class? Please leave your comment below. Thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned for more video coming soon.